Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Almost Halloween, you guys.
Almost Halloween.
Almost. So,
We should do a video of the trick-or-treaters on Halloween, too.
we can't really do that because we'd have to blur all their faces.
No, I don't mean them. I mean us. Like, scaring the kids and stuff.
So today, we are doing Lorraine Warren.
Fascinating subjects.
Which is really kind of hard to find a lot about their life. There's a lot easier to find things about their cases, but it's kind of hard because I like to go through and learn about their life and stuff, and then learn about their cases. But I guess this is more about their scary stories about their cases, a little bit about their life. So, let's see here. Edward Warren, Minnie. Born September 7th, 1926, died August 23rd, 2006. And Lorraine Rita Warren, or she was Warren, January 31st, 1927, and she just passed away April 18th, 2018. They were American paranormal investigators and authors associated with prominent cases of hauntings.
I didn't realize she died this year. Literally a week before my birthday, too. That's crazy. Edward was a World War II United States Navy veteran and former police officer, became a self-taught, self-professed demonologist, author, and lecturer.
Lorraine professed to be clairvoyant and a light trance medium who worked closely with her husband. I think she was.
Oh, yeah,
she
she
was.
was.
Some people don't think she was.
Yeah, well, they're idiots if they don't think she was, because she totally was. She could see the dead. She could see the demons and the people possessing them.
Well, I mean, I can see it with my third eyes, and that's why I'm like, I think she was, because like, it's different than what you guys see of like psychics. You don't like physically see them, like the ghosts and stuff.
Yeah, it's more like
It's
you
all
see
like,
an aura or something.
I just see them like I see like flashes in my head, like pictures.
I don't see them. I feel them. It's like I can feel that there's something in our
Really,
closet.
Valentino?
I can feel that there's something in our bedroom closet, but I can't see anything. I just feel this presence coming from it. In 1952, the Warrens founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. Hi, pretty boy.
What if he's gonna try to do another appearance?
Pretty boy.
Nope, he decided to tuck his tail away.
Nope.
They authored numerous books about the paranormal and about their private investigations into various reports of paranormal activity. They claim to have investigated over 10,000 cases during their career.
Pretty boy.
I still want to go to their museum.
Oh, me too. The Warrens were among the very first investigators at the controversial Amityville, did I say that right? Haunting. According to the Warrens, the NESPR uses a variety of individuals, including medical doctors, researchers, police officers, nurses, college students, and members of the clergy in its investigation. Sorry, I kind of lost my breath on that one.
So now we're going to get into some of their cases. Well, not some, a lot of them. Alright, this one is a classic, Annabelle.
Ooh.
This doll that was purchased in an antique store, the nursing student and her roommate quickly began to notice odd occurrences involving the doll, such as changing positions or rooms. It eventually escalated to messages on paper and blood on the doll's dress. And at one point, violence. According to the Warrens, in 1968, two roommates they called in a medium who explained that she believed the doll as possessed by the spirit of a deceased 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. Higgins had supposedly died on the land where the apartment stood. Annabelle took particular aim at the fiancé of one roommate, who claims he woke up frozen in bed on the doll as the doll crawled up his body and strangled him.
Ew.
He also allegedly claimed that even entering a darkened room where the doll was rested, he felt something attack him. When he flipped the switch, he saw his stomach covered in blood scratches and bloody scratches and the doll on the floor. Determining that demonic presence was in fact behind the doll, they performed a blessing in their residence before taking Annabelle off the young woman's hands. The Warrens took the doll, telling the roommates it was being manipulated by inhumane presence, and put it on display in the family's occult museum. In a locked glass box in the occult museum, "Do not touch," was the warning sign on it.
Yeah, I've actually watched videos of the Warrens and stuff, and they go through a lot of these cases.
Let's see. The horror film Annabelle's Creation, both spin-off or prequel films of The Conjuring and Annabelle Council, a spin-off sequel of The Conjuring, are loosely based on the story. But Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll. She's not actually that creepy looking.
Yeah, they did that for the movie.
Yeah, it was just dramatics to make... Dramatics. I can't even say it right now that we say it.
Dramatic.
Yeah, it's just to make it look scarier. But she is pretty creepy. Of course, I'll put pictures up.
Yeah, there's like salt on the inside of the glass case and like runes and stuff all over it to try to keep her in there.
There's a few people. She's kind of like Robert the doll, where if you were to touch her case and stuff, she would go through it. A few people have wrecked and stuff, and because they touched her case, or they took a picture without her permission, or they were talking shit about her in front of her. And whoa!
Go turn that off.
Not without you.
Okay, let's go. Watch my phone. Why did our vacuum just turn on? Turn it off. Okay, so all you have to do is push on it?
Yeah.
Okay, that means the cat must have stepped on it.
She's over there, baby.
Yeah, but she wasn't when it first went off.
I don't think so.
She probably turned it on by accident, went running down the hallway because she didn't like the sound.
I don't think so. We were just talking to you about Annabelle. And
Annabelle has no reason to attack us.
we were just talking about her.
Yes, but we weren't talking shit about her. We were just talking about her. Alright, people. My lovely fiance is over here having a panic attack because our vacuum just turned on. From what she thinks all by itself, but I think the cat pushed on it and took running.
We didn't hear the cat, though. The cat would have ran and we would have heard it. Her.
Not if the vacuum was going. It's loud as fuck. Did you turn the vacuum on?
And her cackles are up or anything. I don't think it was her.
Well, I'm doing the benefit of the doubt here and saying I think it was the cat. He was in here, but we didn't see her.
But it takes a lot of pressure. I don't think she's fat enough to do it. I know
She
Valentina
jumped on it.
So why would she jump on it?
Attacking the vacuum? I don't know. I'm just coming up with reasons why it might not be Annabelle, okay?
Or any other ghost that's in here. Like
Or
Michael's
that.
doll.
Jeez.
What was I saying anyway?
We were talking about Annabelle attacking people that talk shit about her.
Oh, yeah, and then the vacuum turned on. Annabelle, if you're listening, we weren't talking shit about you. You're a lovely doll.
We are merely talking about your presence in the Ed and Warren...
We're just educating you.
Ed and Lorraine Warren's lives.
We're educating people about you. It's super cold in here all of a sudden.
Oh my god, you're such a winner. Jeez.
It wasn't her. Let's see if anything else happens in this apartment.
Perrin family. When Roger and Carolyn Perrin moved their family, including their 5 young daughters, to their new 200-acre home in Harrisville, Rhode Island, they were unaware of its allegedly insidious former resident. What? Insidious former resident. Okay. I don't know why that didn't click in my head right. Originally built in 1736, the country home was once inhabited by Bathsheba Thayer and her 4 children. 3 of whom died young. Despite the era's high infant mortality rates, those deaths and the circumstances around them roused suspicion within the town, resulting in the ostracism of Thayer. Labeled a Satanist by her community members, she allegedly hanged herself in her backyard. While the Perrin family lived in the home, numerous pleasant ghostly interactions, like spirits playing with the children or helping to do chores, were reported. But so were the darker interactions like ghosts like Thayer's, who took on a more menacing presence in the home. Disembodied voices, furniture moving on its own, and full spectral appearances were among the many ghostly appearances shared by the Perrin family. Matriarch Carolyn was allegedly. There's a space in the middle of it. It was like all edgily. What?
Writer error.
Allegedly one of Thayer's most consistent targets, supposedly jealous of the living woman's role as both mother and wife. The ghost reportedly pinched and slapped Carolyn quite a bit and even touched Roger inappropriately on several occasions. The Warrens were brought in to help in 1974, but their presence aggravated the conditions and Thayer's supposed ghost, so much that the family eventually asked them to leave. Horror icon James Wan used the Perrin family's experience in his box office hit The Conjuring in 2013. If you haven't seen it, it's a really, really good movie. Like, there's very few movies that I watch that actually make sense, like they follow the story. Especially stuff like this. But that, oh wow.
It's creepy as hell.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness.
Here's a classic, which we did a video on. Amityville. One of the most famous Ed and Lorraine Warren's paranormal investigations. This investigation has been adapted into a frightening and seemingly unending film franchise. Which is one of those that it should have ended in the first movie.
Oh, you're talking about Insidious?
Amityville.
Oh, I thought this was a different story. Okay, go ahead.
This Warren case involved the Lutz family. The Lutzes took up residence in a suburban Dutch colonial house in Amityville, Long Island in 1975. Only a year before their move-in, the residence had been the set of a deadly mass murder. When Ronald Defoe Jr. brutally killed 6 members of his family. For 28 days, the Lutzes and their children lived in that very same house. While there, the family reported an
Antagonistic
voices, swarms of flies, welts, family members levitating, banging noises, and unseen entities. Let's see.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ed and Lorraine Warren were eventually called in to cleanse the house and brought a local TV crew with them. After snapping photos, including one featuring a boy with glowing eyes, which I posted on the other video, but I'll post it again here, the Warrens determined that the land had curses on it. In a 2013 interview with Yahoo, Lorraine Warren said the Amityville Horror House was the one case that haunts her the most. Amityville is horrible, she said during a press conference for The Conjuring. It was absolutely horrible. It followed us straight across the country. I will never go to the Amityville house ever again. George and Kathy Lutz claimed the house was haunted by a violent demonic presence so intense that it eventually drove them out of their home. The Amityville horror conspiracy authors Stephen and Roxanne Kaplan characterized the case as a hoax. Lorraine Warren told a reporter for the Express Times newspaper that the Amityville horror was not a hoax. The reported haunting was the basis for the 1977 book The Amityville Horror and adapted into 1979 and 2005 films for the same name, while also serving an inspiration for the film series that followed. The Warrens' version of the events is particularly adapted and portrayed in the opening sequence of The Conjuring 2 in 2016. According to Benjamin Radford, the story was refuted by eyewitnesses, investigations, and forensic evidence. In 1979, lawyer William Weber reportedly stated that he, J. Anson, and the occupants invented the horror story over many bottles of wine. I don't think they invented all of it. I think maybe it was over-exaggerated a little bit, but I don't think...
Stories like this, they tend to have at least a little bit of truth to them. even if there's parts of the story that don't make sense, or
like the bleeding from the walls.
They made that shit up. That's fine. But there's always some truth to these kind of things.
I don't think the walls bled, and I don't think any of that happened. But I do think that the little kids started seeing red eyes, and I do think that something took over Defoe as well. I don't think he took him.
Yeah.
I think something took him over. I think either the grounds were a Native American graveyard or something. No, the Lutzes were the ones that moved in later.
Oh, you're talking about when
the murders happened. I don't think he was with him. But I don't think he was there.
Yeah. So the Parent Family one didn't really end. Like, Ed and Lorraine Warren didn't actually do anything. The family was like, "Go home. This isn't helping," and that was it.
Well, they left their house. I know. I think eventually it stopped. I can't remember what. I'd have to get into the case more.
Yeah.
Like these are just snippets of the cases, so.
Oh. The Enfield Poltergeist. In 1977, the Warrens investigated claims that a family in the North London suburb of Enfield was haunted by poltergeist activity. While a number of independent observers dismissed the incident as a hoax carried out by attention-hungry children, the Warrens were convinced that it was a case of demonic possession. The story was the inspiration for The Conjuring 2, although critics say the Warrens were involved to a far lesser degree than portrayed in the movie, and in fact had shown up to the scene uninvited and been refused admittance to the home. I always thought they were the type of people that wouldn't go unless they were asked.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have just shown up like,
Somebody
"Hey, we're here to help. Fuck off."
Somebody had to have asked them.
Like, whether the family wanted to or not, somebody asked them to come.
A cousin, a brother, a sister, or
a neighbor.
Distant friend.
Yeah, somebody asked them to come. They wouldn't just show up uninvited and be like, "Well, we're here now."
Alright, demons. In 1981, Arnie Johnson was accused of killing his landlord, Alan Bono. Ed and Lorraine Warren had been called prior to the killing to deal with alleged demonic possession of the young brother of Johnson's fiancée. The Warrens subsequently claimed that Johnson was also possessed. At trial, Johnson attempted to plead not guilty by reason of demonic possession, but was unsuccessful with his plea. The case was described in the 1983 book The Devil in Connecticut by Gerald Brittle.
Snedeker? Oh yeah, she was being cute. She was batting at his tail. It was adorable.
You're so fat.
She's getting there, isn't she?
Baby.
Snedeker House, 1986. Carmen and Al Snedeker, Snedeker? I don't know. I hope I'm saying it right. Rented a home in Southington, Connecticut to be close to the hospital where their son was receiving treatment. The former funeral home came complete with the remnants of a mortuary in the basement and a graveyard outside.
You do know this movie, right?
I don't remember.
Haunting in Connecticut.
Oh, well then, yeah. Don't do that to me.
It's one of my favorites.
Their oldest son began seeing terrifying visions of ghosts. The family would uncover the existence of toe tags in the house regularly. Lights often flickered, dishes would shake, the smell of decaying flesh hovered, and reportedly water would on occasion turn blood red. Carmen and Al even alleged that the demons had sodomized them during their 2-year period there.
Hey, she didn't know what sodomizing is.
Look it up.
Something inserted somewhere that doesn't belong.
In 1986, Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived and proclaimed the Snedeker house, a former funeral home, to be infested with demons. The morticians partook in unsavory activities with the dead bodies. Ew. After a 2-year stay, the Snedekers finally moved out. Like the parents' story, the Snedekers' haunting was immortalized in film. The case was featured in the 1992 book In a Dark Place, The Story of a True Haunting. A TV movie that later became part of the Discovery Channel series A Haunting was produced in 2002. A Haunting in Connecticut, a film very loosely based on the Warrens' version of events and directed by Peter Cornwell, was released in 2009. Horror author Ray Garton, who wrote an account of the alleged haunting of the Snedeker family in Southington, Connecticut, later called into question the veracity of the accounts contained in his book, saying, "The family involved, which was through some serious problems like alcoholism and drug addiction, could not keep their story straight, and I became very frustrated. It's hard writing a nonfiction book when all the people involved are telling you different stories." To paranormal investigators, Benjamin Radford Garton said of Lorraine, "If she told me the sun would come up tomorrow, I'd get a second opinion." Wow. Wow.
Like I said, people are going to exaggerate the story a little bit. Come on now.
Of course. Why wouldn't they? Like I said, there's always a snippet of truth. Even if shit doesn't make sense, there's always a snippet of truth in every story.
Even the Bible.
Even the Bible.
Even though most of it's exaggerated, there was a little bit of truth.
Stop.
Or at least a good story to keep you
entertained. They're parables. They're meant to teach you something. That's what they are.
Apparently, Valentino is now tickling my knee.
They've taken to each other at least.
It's been an interesting video so far. Now the vacuum cleaner turns on by itself.
Our cats decide
killing
to attack each other. Yeah.
Alright. Smurl family.
Smurl? I thought it said Smurf.
S-M-U-R-L. URL.
URL.
Pennsylvania residents Jack and Jeanette Smurl reported their home was disturbed by numerous supernatural phenomena, including sounds, smells, and apparitions. The Warrens became involved and claimed that the Smurl home was occupied by 4 spirits and also a demon that allegedly sexually assaulted Jack and Janet. Jeez.
What is it with ghosts attacking, sexually assaulting
God,
people?
where's my sexually assaulted
Hey.
The Smurl's version of the story was the subject of a 1986 paperback titled The Haunted and television film of the same name directed by Robert Mandel. That was
nice.
Haunted.
Oh, I screwed that up. Where'd it go?
Maybe if you were playing your game or your video.
I was paying attention. You show your face. I was listening.
Sure.
I was. I was trying to do something too. In the middle of an event. Most people understand a game event.
And it's a mining game.
I also have Merged Dragons as well. I'm in the middle of an event on that one too. Werewolf. In 1991, the Warrens' book Werewolf, the true story of demonic possession, was published, in which they claimed to have exorcised a demon manifesting itself as a werewolf. The werewolf entity has made a brief appearance in the 2019 film Annabelle Comes Home, identified as Hellhound. Ooh. One of the more unusual cases from Ed and Lorraine Warren's case list, this investigation took the Warrens out of the U.S. to a seaside town in Essex, England. There, a man by the name of Bill Ramsey was believed to be possessed by a demon and manifested as a wolf. Growing up, Ramsey was a normal, happy boy. One day, though, at the young age of 9, he suddenly began exhibiting inhuman qualities. Reportedly, while playing outside in the backyard, Ramsey felt a rigid cold overtake him, and his nostrils were overcome with an awful stench before he flew into a rage, uprooting a fence post, fence still attached, and gnawing on its wire meshing. Ramsey eventually grew up, became a loving husband and father of 3, and was incident-free until the 1960s. The early years of his marriage were plagued with nightmares, cold sweats, and waking up to the pants of a wild animal, which he soon realized were coming from him. In the 1980s, Bill would repeatedly feel overcome by the sensations he had as a child while hanging out with friends, and even once while doing a citizen's arrest. At one point, he attacked a friend in a car on their way from a pub, manhandled police in intense altercations on several occasions in the midst of this. Ramsey spent several stints in the hospital, all featuring the same symptoms of rage, inhuman strength, bared teeth, growling, hunched shoulders, and hands curled like claws. In an interview with the Warrens about their experience with Ramsey, Ed Warren stated that Ramsey would ask to be locked up in a jail cell for his protection and the protection of the public. When the Warrens got wind of Ramsey's situation, they asked him to their Connecticut home, where Bishop Robert McKenna would perform a recorded exorcism on Ramsey. I don't remember hearing about that one.
I didn't either until I read it on the internet.
Interesting. I feel my fingers.
Union Cemetery. Ed Warren's book Graveyard, True Hauntings from an Old New England Cemetery, St. Martin's Press, 1992, features a white lady ghost which haunts Union Cemetery. He claims to have captured her essence on film.
Ooh.
Oh my god, cemetery.
Borley Church. The church is claimed to be haunted, although with much less activity than the former Borley Rectory. Alleged paranormal activity includes phantom organ music, ghostly chanting, and the ghost of a nun moving around the churchyard. Ghost stories from the church and the rectory are frequently connected to a supposed Benedictine monastery in the church. In the area. Paranormal investigators Ed Warren claims to have accidentally taken a picture of the ghost of a monk leafing through a book in the church. Interesting.
Let's see if I can find a picture.
Let's hope so, because that would be interesting.
Stepney Cemetery is an old cemetery in Monroe, Connecticut, located in the village of Stepney. It was established next to the Stepney Green. In 1794, many of the area's early settlers are buried in the cemetery. The oldest headstone belongs to Nathaniel W. Knapp, died in 1787. The cemetery is also known as Birdsize Plain Cemetery or Birdsley Plain Cemetery. Next to the cemetery is Our Lady of the Rosary Chapel. Ed and Lorraine Warren believe that the cemetery was haunted by a white lady ghost.
A white lady ghost. Okay.
Did I do that one twice?
Where?
No, that was Union and that was Stepney. Okay.
Where? Union Cemetery. Stepney Cemetery.
Just they're both a white lady. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why I was having such issue with the word white lady. The trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson. In this landmark trial, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called to testify on behalf of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, the first known case in the U.S. to use the devil made me do it defense. On the evening of February 16, 1981, hey, I wasn't even born yet, 19-year-old Johnson engaged to Debbie Klatzel and out for dinner with her. Their landlord, Alan Bono, and others stabbed Bono multiple times using a pocket knife. Johnson would plead not guilty by possession, a defense founded on Johnson's relationship with his soon-to-be wife's younger brother, David. What? I'm confused. In the summer of 1980, David woke to what he described as a man with big black eyes, a thin face with animal features, and jagged teeth, pointed ears, horns, and hooves. Demon's description mirrors the creature from horror hit Insidious, and apparently scared David so much that Debbie turned to Arne for help. Johnson couldn't find a reasonable explanation for David's bruises or scratches, so the family pivoted to a priest. That supposedly only angered the entity more, causing it to make David hiss, speak in multiple voices, and quote Paradise Lost. Warrens were brought in an interview with People magazine. Lorraine stated that while Ed interviewed the boy, I saw a black, misty form next to him, which told me we were dealing with something of a negative nature. Soon the child was complaining that invisible hands were choking him, and there were red marks on him. He said that he had the feeling of being hit. The Warrens supposedly worked with the Diocese of Bridgeport, and 4 priests were brought in to exorcise more than 40 demons from David. 40? The diocese has only admitted to investigating the Classel case, but allegedly the event saw David return to normal. Arn, however, became their alleged new target. After moving with Debbie and going to dinner at a bar with Bono, a fight between the 2 older men broke out, and Johnson stabbed Bono. Johnson's defense didn't hold up in court, and he was found guilty of first-degree manslaughter, serving out only 5 years of his initially longer sentence.
Is that right?
Wow. What?
Okay, that one was Ramsey, so there's 2 different. I was just making sure that wasn't the same as the werewolf one.
It's be confusing me.
The Warrens were responsible for training several demonologists, including Dave Considine and their nephew John Zaffis, which he has a TV show too, or had one. In addition to investigations, Lorraine ran the Warrens Occult Museum in the back of her house in Monroe, Connecticut, with the help of her son-in-law, Tony Spera.
This one? According to a 1997 interview with the Connecticut Post, Steve Novella and I don't know why my brain just stopped at the like I don't know how to say the name Perry. Perry DeAngelis investigated the Warrens for the New England Skeptical Society. They found the couple to be pleasant people, but their claims of demons and ghosts to be at best as tellers of meaningless ghost stories and at worst dangerous frauds. They took the $13 tour and looked at all the evidence the Warrens had for spirits and ghosts. They watched the videos and looked at the best evidence the Warrens had. Their conclusion, it's all blarney. They found common errors with flash photography and nothing evil in the artifacts the Warrens had collected. They have a ton of fish stories about evidence that got away. They're not doing good scientific investigation. They have a predetermined conclusion which they adhere to, literally and religiously, according to Novella. Lorraine Warren said that the problem with Perry and Steve is that they don't base anything on a god. Novella responded, it takes work to do solid, critical thinking, to actually employ your intellectual faculties and come to a conclusion that actually reflects reality. That's what scientists do every day, and that's what skeptics advocate. I'm sorry. Yes, most things, science, absolutely, I agree. But there are things that science cannot explain.
My problem is when you have somebody like the skeptic that completely, no matter what, will believe whatever, no matter what evidence you give them.
Well,
So.
See, that's why you go in with an open mind. You know, one way or the other, something's going to, come to a conclusion in your brain. But don't walk in just saying you don't believe in any of it, because then you're, of course, not going to see anything that you should have seen.
I guarantee you, they came in there to debunk it. They didn't go in there to actually listen to the evidence. Exactly. They went in there to debunk it, because they are a skeptic group.
Absolutely.
In an article for the Sydney Morning Herald that examined whether supernatural films are really based on true events, that investigation was used as evidence to the contrary. As Novella is quoted, the Warrens claim to have scientific evidence which does indeed prove the existence of ghosts, which sounds like a testable claim into which we can sink our investigative teeth. What we found was a very nice couple, some genuinely sincere people, but absolutely no compelling evidence. But it was made clear that neither DeAngelis nor Novella thought... Is that the same thing you just read? We just read it, that's why.
About what?
Oh. I guess not, it's not the same.
Oh. No, that one is about the Conjuring, which we already read about.
I'm not talking about the Conjuring, right?
This is the Conjuring.
Yeah, but this is the same interview, pretty much.
Well, if you already read it, then let's read something
Anyways. Alright, the occult museum is currently closed and looking for a new home. But some of the things inside of it are a shadow doll that can come to you in your dreams and stop your heart. But like since she passed away, it is deemed unsafe. And there's a few more things. Yeah.
Oh, did you read the occult museum?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Satanic idol found in the deep woods of Connecticut. The conjuring mirror used for summoning spirit. The vampire's coffin used by a modern-day vampire, a Raggedy Ann doll, which is responsible for a death of a young man and multiple attacks on those who once mockingly came in contact. Yeah. Mask used as a topa for diabolical projection. Child tombstones that were used as satanic altars. A famous organ that plays by itself. Psychic photography, pictures that would combust, and crucifixes that were malevolently thrown from walls and desecrated. Egyptian and African cursed items, death curses, a shrunken head, possessed toys and animals, voodoo, fertility, and killer dolls.
These are just ideas of what's in their occult museum. One of their most famous artifacts, the Annabelle doll, will be on exhibit. Annabelle is believed to be responsible for death of individuals who come into contact with it. This doll also reported slashed a grown man several times, and we already read this. Lorraine Warren, possible freaks. Teachers. Although Annabelle has been exorcised several times, it is believed that some energy is still attached to the doll.
I've watched a lot of the videos from Ed and Lorraine.
Me too.
There's actually one where they show the Raggedy Ann doll, and it moves. Mm-hmm. It gets in a fucking case.
She's crazy.
It's not like they have it rigged.
They had to put her in the case because originally they didn't have her in the case, and she would run around the house or something.
I'm not saying that I saw her eyes move or whatever. No, her arm freaking moved. She moved. In the video, she moved. Look it up. There's videos all over the place of all the stuff that they've done, and there's no way that it could be rigged. That doll is in a damn glass case. There's nothing around it. You can go around it with a camera and see that there are no wires. There's nothing. You don't believe that shit? Figure it out. Open your mind, because it's true.
And you're beautiful and light about that way.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the doll. I'm saying that it's an interesting case. That's all.
It just tripped me out that she turned the vacuum out.
I still think that was the cat.
I don't think so. What do you guys think? Is it the cat?
I think it was the cat.
I don't think so. Like and subscribe. What do you think of Ed and Lorraine Warren? Like I said, I don't think they're hoaxes. I think, like any good story, you exaggerate a little bit, but I think they meant well, and it's a little bit. It happened. There's paranormal activity. She could see ghosts. It just,
And I hope she's haunting someone somewhere.
Unless she's the one that turned on the
But not in a bad way.
Unless she's the one that turned on the Anyways, I'm going to do one more video, then I'm going to take a nap.
We're going to watch the video and see.